Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Innovators and Investors podcast. I'm your host, Kristian Marquez, founder and CEO of FinStrat Management. Today, super excited to have with us Bernard Chong. Bernard is an angel investor who's active in the early stage ecosystem. Bernard, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Christian.
Oh, my pleasure. Love to jump right into it. If we can just kick things off, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you ended up focusing your time as an angel investor.
Okay. So right now I'm in industry of coffee business, retail business, tech platform, esports. I came from a family of shoe brand in Philippines. The brand is World Balance and it's the number one shoe brand there locally. And where the company is almost 50 years in
Okay.
Philippines. But I studied electronics communication engineering. So I'm an engineer by degree, and I'm known for esports because I made the team Brand Esports and AP Brand rebranded to AP Brand. Both won world championship, and it was in Google News for the country. So we won the M2 and N5 League of Legend, Mobile Legend World Championship.
Well, congratulations. So you end up having a lot of success in the esports space. And then how did that turn into a focus on investing?
At first, the esports came when I have money to invest in esports.
Yeah.
So I came from a training of the businessman because I told you we will have a shoe company. So I would be trained when I was young, how sales are done, how inventories are done, how customer service are done, and how to manage personnel. And by that time, I feel like being a businessman is a greater joy for me because that was my training. And when I graduated my degree, I went to sales because I was trained to selling shoes. So I went to in the sales and then I got income. From that income, I invested on companies with friends. So I invested in a radio station, which is Energy FM. I invested in some tech platforms. And then through time, it wasn't instant. It took maybe 3 years ROI, 4 years ROI, and then 5 to 6 years after. But I started when I was 23. So at 29, I was able to invest already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about investment strategy. And I heard you mention tech platforms. One of the characteristics that's inherent to technology or early stage technology is risk. I'd love to hear about your investment thesis and how do you go about identifying companies that have a high probability of generating a positive return?
Okay. Now, with me, okay, my train of thought is if somebody was successful already in the industry and he's just going to make her own or their own, I would jump on it because I know that the experience they have in their history will be carried on to our project. That's one. Second, I would also think about that technology or industry that he's going to make the platform. Is it something that a copied version or improved version, or it's a totally different thing that's none other? Like it would be the initial one. So when it's a copied version or an improved version, it has high chance of being created because they'll just copy it. But if it's an innovation where it's something that it's going to be the first, that is something I always very much think about the reality of it because often when it's the first, there is no blueprint to follow. You don't know what's right or wrong. You will learn what's right or wrong as you go along the way. So the budget there and the requirement there for money is often not accurate rather than you're just copying or semi copying a platform and improving it a little bit. You understand?
I do. So I can also see the dependency on the founders in the company.
Yes. Yeah. My idea when I angel invest, the business is secondary. My primary is the person. If the person is the same style with me, if the person is, because often there are two styles. There's a culture style and there's a fast style. Because when you're fast, culture will be left behind. And if it's culture, you have to be slow because everything's cultured. So there is a style for certain individuals, and I would see if we're fit, because I believe all person are often good people, but it's just if you fit or don't fit, because one may be a little bit riskier, one may be a little bit safe, and you just don't see eye to eye. So communication is also a great part of what's if you're aligned or not aligned.
Agreed. So on that note, before we turn our attention to individual companies, what overall trends right now are you bullish on, and are you actively pursuing?
Okay. I believe that all business will make money as long as you put your heart to it. Like when you garden your own garden, whatever industry it is, you will make money because economy is getting bigger. But you're asking, is me, I personally believe that technology, because using of internet, able to reach multiple people, multiple users at a quick instant is better, I think. It's a easier way to influence or help them, but it's also a tougher competition because there's a lot of distractions. So I still go with tech because with the effort, the outcome or the return is worth it because you can reach a lot of millions of users.
And is there a minimum return that you look for before you cut a check?
I normally see investment as what I would learn and what I
Hmm.
could teach to others rather than the money itself.
Okay.
But I'm in a unique position because I'm angel investing. I have a steady flow of income already. It's
Mhm.
not that much. It's enough to live by, and it's enough also to invest. But only because I wasn't doing the VC part. Because VC part, they will get money from all people. So they would get money from 5 people, 8 people, 10 people, 12 people. And there was certain promise that they need to do to return it. So they have certain percentage, certain number of time of years, and then they have to return them because
Sure.
that's a lot of people's money. I think I'm in a unique position where I just use my own money. So if the money grows in a certain time, it's good. If the money goes longer time, I can still wait because it's on my own. It's not other people's money. So yeah. So I never look at return as more important than what would I learn with this project? What people will I meet who with this? So I think of learning when
I,
it comes
I,
to investing.
I love it. That's a brilliant insight. And I admit, I don't know that I've ever heard an angel investor share that with me, even if they're thinking about it. Because I can imagine, especially if you have someone who's come up with a new product, there's going to be absolutely a discovery that takes place as they look to disrupt the market.
Yes.
So, so with that, so I'm curious. So you have a business background, and startups are a bit unique, as you point out, they go fast. So when you talk to the founders of the companies you're invested in, how do you encourage them to think about growth, rapid growth, as compared to incorporating sustainable business practices?
Okay. So a lot of times, every founder is different because some founders want rapid growth and some founders want steady and secure. It depends on their appetite. I think the more important thing if you're an angel investor is to support the nature of the said partner or the said person, because you can be rapidly growing, but you need certain pieces too in your company to be able to sustain it, and you could be also taking your time, making sure that everything's well oiled, everything's well run, no pressure. But there has to be some pieces also there that you're self-sufficient. That's why you can take your time. So to me, I let the founder be who they are.
Okay.
And if they have the problem, they ask me. If they ask opinion, they ask me. Then I'll tell them my piece of wisdom or piece of experience or my thoughts on it. But at the end of the day, I let them dictate. Because the moment I enforce something to them and that's not their nature, it will be destroyed. So it's like also planting and gardening. Different trees, different plants have their own growth rate.
Sure.
Some you plant 5 years and then doesn't grow and then suddenly grows fast, and some you plant then you see steady growth. And you can't see this as individual when you're individual investing. So you really have to be learn. You really have to be accepting to be patient. Like you're already aware that I'm going to be patient with whom I'm investing with. The more important to me, like I said earlier, is the alignment. As long as we're talking, I know what's happening to you, then I can assess that you're growing or not growing because every day, every month, every week, we're talking. So I can say that where you're heading. Also, I try to inspire all my founders or all my partners by introducing them to all my group. So I have a group where I Angel Invest. So I have the retail, the coffee, the platform, the construction company, and so much other else, like a watch company. So when there's a time where I need the founder on a specific industry to just relax, sit back, and open up what's happening to the other friends, to the other businesses, and then they can cross reference their style, they can cross reference what they learned, and then they grow because they would see that, oh, in this angle they do this, they had a coach or something, and then in this angle, so they would know. So I'm enriching them, but I'm really letting them grow on their own way, on their own path. I just support them.
I love the gardening analogy, and it's a brilliant one because you're right. Depending on the founder or the business, to expect the same growth rate as you would in a garden would be a mistake. And so I think when you realize that, your expectations are better aligned. And you can
Yeah,
also probably
we
provide.
all want fast return, like who doesn't? But at the end of the day, when you accept that's their nature and you're supporting them the way it should be, that's the fastest already.
Agreed. What's a common mistake that you see early stage companies make, and what can they do to avoid it?
Okay, common mistakes are often the lack of planning, or when I say when you lack to see the first principle method. So normally when you make a plan, you feel like it's example a tree. Example a tree. You just say it's just soil, seed, water, and sunshine, right? But if you really dig up to it, it's what kind of soil, how heat the temperature of the sunlight also, and the gardens and the microorganisms that feeds the root, and how it's like more detailed. So again, when you ask what's the most common mistake, the most common mistake is planning poorly or not able to see the complete picture as a whole, and then jumping into conclusion that the tree will bear fruit after a certain time. The best really is to see everything and then support it and see it as time goes. So see that your business, for example, you're making an app. So you see the connection with the server, with the engineers, with the cost, and then with the growth, like complete, you can see it complete. The more complete you see it, the better you are protecting yourself from the blind side of things that you didn't see. If you plan short-sightedly or poorly and you didn't see all the picture, there would be a lot of blind side as you go along the way. And in life, I always say, it's the blind sides that kills you. Anything that you know is coming, anything that you know that you're gonna deal with, it's okay. You're gonna deal with it, even though it's a monster or dragon giant in front of you, as long as you're prepared because you know how to prepare. But anytime there's a blind side that you don't know, that's where the trouble happens.
I like it. So let's change or pivot here. Fundraising.
Okay.
What advice do you have for founders looking to pitch an angel for the first time?
I think they really just have to be honest and tell them their project, and hopefully the angel understand their vision. That's it. Because you really can't force also. But the moment that the investor want your project, they will make way to make sure that it get funded because they like it. You attract them. So it's like attracting or making them known that your project or the thing that you're going to work all your life, the support and worth the journey with you.
A little bit in the weeds. It makes good sense. A little bit in the weeds. When you're looking at potential investment opportunities, are there any red flags or green lights that you look for when you look at the company financials?
Normally, because I'm an angel investor, I know that it's not making money at first. So what I look for me is the runway. If the runway, at least it could run for at least 10 months or 1 year
Yeah.
by itself without making anything, and then the MVP will be good. Sometimes I go to it because that's what it takes. Also, there are some times that I angel invest, but I'm just a minority shareholder. So I would be just part of the runway. And I would just say, hey, if you just need this amount, let's say 10K USD, and you're racing with other people too, sometimes I do it too. But I think the general question that you're asking for your audience is, if you're angel investing, you don't want to get burned in a general, if it's just one-on-one or you're the main part. I think it's best that you see the runway completely. And then at least you can work for at least 10 months or 1 year for the MVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interest rates, big topic in the news, especially since the Fed started raising rates in early 2022. I'm curious, what impact, if any, have you found that's had on the angel landscape?
Again, from the where I'm coming from, okay? If you're loaning from the bank and then putting it for investment, so that's something I'm not familiar with because that's not what I do. But I'm sure if the interest is high, less people will invest. And if the interest rate is low, then they could borrow money and invest it. Okay? That's just generic and basic. I really feel like you should only angel invest if you're ready to not see your money for a long time. It sounds funny, but that's really the reality of angel investing. Now, where I could go on and say there are Series B, Series C, where they invest a lot of money, but that the company or the product is proven already. That's why they're already wanting to give at least ticket size $100 million, $50 million, $20 million, big one. But that's not an angel invest. That it was proven already. They just want growth money. That's why it says Series A, Series B, Series C. So that's a different thing.
Sure.
And then with that, you can put that even with the interest rate because the growth there is humongous. That's why they put money on there. But again, we're talking about angel investing, and I feel like you must only angel invest if you're willing to not see that money for a long time, but in exchange of learn, connection, and wisdom, and seeing the journey of the individual.
I know we're getting close on time here. Before we wrap up, a couple more questions, a little bit more honed on just your personal insights. As you look ahead for the next 5, 10 years, what opportunities are you most excited about?
Again, AI is in a way new, so it's going to be developing. I'm excited with the development of it. Technology, of course, with AI application is that one. So that is the most exciting thing. But I must stress also, which my grandfather told me, whatever business it is, as long as you're tendering it, it will be successful. Like somebody will be just born today, a baby, and will graduate school, and they will make a shoe business, and they'll still be successful. It's because the nature of business is it's always growing. Somebody gets the business. Somebody who did their homework gets the business. It's an ever changing and growing thing. So I think rather than thinking of what industry it is, think of what your passion is, what you want, what you like, and just do it. And from there, you can service people and individuals because that's what you want. That's what drives you when you wake up, when you sleep, when you want to research, you want to do something that benefits the community. It's something you can always improve everything. You can improve light, you can improve computer, even the way how things are, you can improve. So it's just a matter of our imagination, our wants. Generally, still, technology is the way to go.
I think that's great. And for all the founders in the audience who are listening to this, I just, Bernard, what you just said about, hey, if you can improve it, there's an opportunity there. And it's if you think about it, you can honestly distill it to that factor
Yeah.
to have success in your hands. Last question. What's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self before you started investing?
Ah, there were many advices, but I think the the best advice I could give to my younger self is try to deal with the right people, because all that every time that I deal with the right people, it blossomed. And of course, you can't be wise doing everything right. Sometimes it's the mistake that you become wiser. And there's a lot of wrong people also I partnered with, and those hurt me. So I wish it didn't happen because some those are hurtful too, and those are research too. But I would advise my younger self to really see the people who I'm gonna be with, because when I invest with someone, it's a long term thing, it's a lifetime thing. And picking the wrong person, male or female, will really hurt you.
I have to ask now, as you think back on it, is there any characteristics of the wrong people that you can now more readily pick up on and that you would maybe suggest to others to be conscious of?
All right. Because it was a misalignment of communication. Often there's a person who want this thing in this way, and you have an integrity also of this is how you do things. So if that don't align, it's not because it's bad or good. It's just because it's just wrong. It was not aligned to what you are. What's your style or what's your character. So maybe to reinforce what I said about wrong and right people, maybe I would say make sure you're aligned with the people you're having journey with.
I love it. And Bernard, thank you very much. I think the amount of insight that came out of this podcast is great. I really enjoy the gardener analogy. I think there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I think, especially for any of our founders who are listening to this, there's some great insights in there. Bernard, if there are any founders who are interested in meeting you or investors who'd like to co-invest with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, my email. You can tell them my email, or I could give you my number. You can text me. Should I
Okay.
say?
You're welcome to, or we'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah, maybe just get it. Don't include it. It's
Okay.
916-699-23. And then please text me so I get your number too.
Bernard, if you just give it to us one more time, because the last two numbers you froze up on us.
Okay, 916-699-2354.
Perfect. Bernard, thank you so much. It's been great having you on the show. I appreciate your time. And for our audience, thank you again for joining us on another episode of the Innovators and Investors podcast.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Christian.